Okay, so I'll make a proper start, as it were. And yeah, so today, we are looking at the Metta Bhavana practice, and so Metta Bhavana one can undertake, as it were, in sort of different levels. So there's a very practical kind of workaday level, if you like, of practicing the Metta Bhavana, where we're really kind of bringing awareness to what's going on and just looking to cultivate slightly more positive mental states, just a little bit more kindness, a little bit more interest in another person, in other people, just connecting with them a little bit more deeply, letting go of any stories that are coming up that are getting in the way. So that's a very sort of practical approach to Metta Bhavana, and that's what probably most of us are mainly doing when we're doing the practice, is something that loosely at least fits that description. However, this evening, this is the last in our series called The Way to Full Potential. We've got a new series starting next week. I'll come back to that at the end. But the last in our series, The Way to Full Potential. And, well, what's our full potential? Well, there are different answers to that question, but there's one answer for you. So this, of course, is an image of the Buddha. So just take that in for a moment. Just take in the Buddha. Just notice how you feel in looking at the Buddha, in taking in the Buddha. So the Buddha is an image of our full potential. I mean, clearly, this is not supposed to be an accurate depiction of what the historical Buddha looked like 2,500 years ago. This is getting at something else. If you like, this is communicating Buddhahood, the awakened or the enlightened mind. And that's our full potential. That is what's being communicated here. And of course, this is a state of being that has many, many rich and wonderful qualities. I'm not going to even try to give you even an overview of them. The image itself speaks more than I can in words. But certainly one of them is unlimited love and compassion, boundless love and compassion, which is why I've called this evening Love Unlimited. And that is ultimately the object of the Metta Bhavana practice, is a state of consciousness, a state of being, where metta, loving kindness, love, if you like, is completely without boundaries, unconditional love to all beings, including ourselves, but without thinking about that really, just all beings. So that's where the Metta Bhavana is ultimately oriented. And so we can bring in an image like the Buddha, and that can actually put us in touch with something else, something that's different from our ordinary mind. Here, I will show you this. Here is another image of the awakened mind. So this is green Tara. So she's sometimes described as the quintessence of compassion. And you can see she's stepping down with one foot into the world to help, to respond to need, whilst also having one leg in meditation. I won't say much about the image because there isn't time, but just take her in for a moment. So these images, figures, language fails us really. It's when we see an image like this, perhaps particularly Tara, who's not based on a historical figure, as far as I've ever heard, particularly perhaps with a figure like Tara, we want to kind of know what to do with her. Our thinking mind wants, so she's either sort of some deity up in the sky. That's not what's being got at here. And I'm certainly not asking you to sort of believe in these figures as sort of existing up there and looking down on us in the way that we might ordinarily think of that in a Christian sense. That's not what these figures are about, but neither are they simply a symbol for a state of mind in the ordinary sense. They're getting at something deeper or higher or more mysterious. And I think one way of looking at them is they're a bit like a gateway. You know, you can take an image like an image of the Buddha, an image of Tara, or many other figures, ones that are non-Buddhist even, and they can act as a kind of a gateway to a different state of being or consciousness, even just getting a glimpse of that. So, what's being evoked here is something which is not the ordinary mind. So I don't know how many of you have seen the little advert I did for this evening. But in that I was saying, well, yeah, okay, we're doing the Metta Bhavana practice tonight. We've done it before, probably. And the ultimate, I don't know what the right word is, the ultimate orientation of this practice is towards this state of boundless unconditional love. And that is not something that our ordinary mind is capable of doing. Yeah, boundless unconditional love. We can be more loving, yes, absolutely, and let's do it. But the ordinary mind is not capable of that because the ordinary mind is caught up with me. It sees everything in terms of me, and we separate out between me in here and the world and other people out there. And we get past that to some extent, or we're trying to practice positivity and so on. We get past that to some extent. But what these images are getting at is something that's completely past that. Yeah, where a state of mind that does not separate out, that knows on a practical level that, okay, there's me and there's another person, as it were, but that doesn't take that literally. That actually, and I don't experience this state of mind. I've glimpsed it perhaps, but I'm talking from the basis of my imagination, of my understanding of the Buddha's teaching here, that there's something where there isn't a separation. And how amazing would that be? To in a way become big enough to no longer feel separate from other beings. So that's what we're getting at ultimately with the practice like the Metta Bhavana. And we can glimpse it. Last week, Dhammanata was talking about a glimpse of something of that quality in the birth of his daughter. That's a particular kind of relationship, of course, but nevertheless, going beyond oneself. We can experience it in nature. We can have an experience where we feel the aliveness of trees and other living creatures around us. There's just some little touch of that kind of separation thins, it reduces. But a lot of the time, we, in the ordinary sense of the word, are in the way. So in the Zen tradition, I think it is, they use the language of little mind and big mind. I think I've got that right, or something like that anyway. So there's little mind is our usual sort of me-oriented kind of thinking, not necessarily really selfish in the colloquial sense, but it's kind of, we keep coming back to me and seeing things in terms of me. And then there's big mind, which is what these images are evoking, which is this consciousness that doesn't separate out in that way. And so what we're going to do this evening is, I'm going to lead the Metta Bhavana, but I'm going to lead it in a particular way, which may be new to some of you. It's a different approach to the Metta Bhavana practice. And I'm going to ask you right from the beginning, please try and forget the metaphysics. Yeah? I'm going to be inviting you to imagine a figure, not necessarily one of the ones I've shown you. I'll give you some different possibilities above you. And it's not helpful to get into, does that figure really exist out there somewhere, or is it really just a part of me? Neither, and both. Just drop the metaphysics. We can come back to that another time. There probably won't even be time for that later, but we'll see. So drop the metaphysics and see if you can be open to a different type of experience, even just a little bit of a different type of experience. It's not necessarily going to be some dramatic thing, but a slightly different type of consciousness, just perhaps being hinted at or even coming in quite fully, we'll see. So what we're going to do is, at the beginning of the Metta Bhavana, I'll lead a body scan as usual, and then I'm going to invite you to imagine, as I say, I'll say a figure above you. And this could be the Buddha, it could be Tara, it could be another Buddhist figure, it could be a figure from another religious tradition, as long as it carries for you this sense of transcendent love. And that you won't be too literal with it. It's not God, as it were, in any usual sense. It doesn't have to be a figure. It could be, I think that would be ideal, but it could be a more abstract image like a heart or a sun or a flower or a jewel, as long as you have the sense of a consciousness there, a loving awareness. That's what we're getting at here. So something like a heart, you can have a sense of it as loving, as, if you like, sending us love. So we're going to start after the body scan by doing that. I'll lead us through this. And then we'll go through the stages of the Metta Bhavana, ourselves. So imagining that we're receiving love from this figure above us. We're opening to love. And that could be, we could imagine that as light coming down, light filling us with a loving awareness. And then as we go through the other stages, we can imagine this light and love coming into us, to our heart, and then outwards from our heart to the person we brought to mind. So into and out. If you don't want to do that, you can imagine the light directly coming to that other person, but I'm going to lead it, suggesting that we do it in this way, where the light and the love comes into us and out to others. And the wonderful thing about this is we, in our ordinary, everyday mind sense, don't have to do it. All we have to do is be open to this other dimension of being consciousness impinging, in the best possible sense of the word, on our mind. Language again fails. Something else can arise, something else can happen. So that's what I'm going to lead. If you want to do the practice in a completely different way, that's entirely up to you, but I'm going to lead it in this way, and I recommend you to try it and to be open to what might happen. So if you want to set yourself up for meditation, and I'll lead a body scan, and then the rest of the practice as I've just described it. Okay, so Just ensuring you've got a posture that is comfortable but also supports alertness. And as always, bringing attention into the body, noticing our weight on our seat, our weight on our seat, contact with the ground. Bringing awareness into the feet and into the legs. Just really taking in any sensations in the feet and legs. Again to the buttocks, the hips, the groin. The back, noticing sensations there. Maybe the touch of our clothes. Letting the back be long, without forcing. Letting the back of the neck also be long and soft. Bringing attention to the head and face. Taking in how that feels. Letting it relax. And bringing attention into the arms. All the way down into the hands. Experiencing the richness and sensitivity of the hands. Bringing attention to the belly, the gut. Noticing how that feels. Letting go if there's tension and we're able to let go. And bringing awareness to the chest and the heart center. Noticing what's going on there. And taking in what kind of a mood we're in, what kind of a state of mind. Noticing how we're feeling about this meditation. Don't need to name it, just taking it in. And now I'm going to invite you to imagine above your head an image of some kind that represents for you right now love, unconditioned, unbounded love. Doesn't matter if you don't have a clear visual image. Might just be a sense of the presence of a being or some other form above you. A loving, aware presence. And if you're not sure what to do, you could try imagining the Buddha. And again, it doesn't matter, you can't recollect a particular image, just a sense of, oh, there's the Buddha. And it may be that another image will present itself during the meditation to come in instead, and that's fine. But don't spend time thinking about which. Just pick something that feels okay. So a loving presence above your head. And as we move into the first stage of the Metta Bhavana, see if you can just open up to love, to receiving the love that's being offered. You could imagine it as light raining down, filling your whole body, bringing well-being in every sense. And if you notice that there are other things in your mind, trains of thought coming in, those can all be included within this loving presence. The love is bigger than anything else that's going on, or you can imagine it so. You might want particularly to imagine this light, this love, reaching into your own heart. And now, still with this loving presence above us, raining down light, love, we bring to mind a friend. As always, getting a sense of this person, and imagining the light and love that we're receiving flowing through us, through our heart, and filling them with well-being. And all we're doing is simply acting as a channel, a willing channel for love, kindness, metta. If there are distractions in the mind, including them in loving awareness, imagine them included in this loving awareness. And if not much seems to be happening, just being patient and open. So now, still with this sense of a loving presence above us, however clear or unclear that is, bring to mind a neutral person, a person who our ordinary self has little interest in, but this loving awareness cares about very fully, very deeply. And again, we can just allow our own heart to be a channel for something bigger. Not trying to force anything to happen, but being open to it. And again, if the mind is wandering off, coming back to the body and including whatever the wandering is in this larger, kindly awareness. Just trusting that that's there. We don't have to get caught up in any thoughts. So, bringing to mind now a difficult person, anyone who feels a bit difficult, a bit uncomfortable now. This loving awareness that we're in the presence of, we can imagine being in the presence of, cares nothing for any arguments, but does wish this other person well. Can we open up to letting that love flow through us? At the same time, we can include within that love any reactions of our own mind. So light, kindness, metta, flowing through us from we know not where, filling the being of this other person with wellness. And now bringing together all four people, including ourselves, the light, the loving awareness, feeling all of us equally. The happiness of each of us is important. No need to distinguish. And then this light can flow more widely, can include everyone meditating together tonight. And can reach out to others as widely and broadly as your imagination will allow. And just seeing if we can get just a hint, just a glimpse, completely unbounded, unlimited love, kindness, well-wishing. And now letting the practice go, maybe seeing the figure, the form above us dissolve away. By another sense, it never goes. And just resting, being present with how we are right now. Nothing more to do than that. And when I ring the bell, gently bringing the meditation to an end. Okay. I've no doubt that every one of us has had a somewhat different experience of that meditation. I hope whatever your experience, it's giving you just a little bit of a taste of what's possible, not just specifically through the Metta Bhavana practice, but through broader spiritual practice. The more we develop ourselves across the whole range of different aspects of practice, the more of a reality ultimately that state can become for us, that state we've evoked and perhaps connected with a little through our imagination just now. Which isn't to say that what we've experienced is unreal, but I'll stop there and I'll see if there are any questions. Nothing at the moment. Okay, that's fine. I'll have to come up with a question for you.
I've got a little comment. I was just thinking of the what can feel like a very big difference between kind of the petty, mundane thoughts that come into your head whilst you're still having quite a lovely experience of something much bigger than yourself. And it can feel, I don't know, it just makes it, sometimes that can feel like quite a painful contrast.
Yes.
You know, trying to hold this sort of bigger image of something very beautiful, but then actually you might be feeling something
so
quite...
you were irritated or...
Why did they do that? That's really,
yes,
you know.
Yeah, and that's part of... Thanks, Liz, for that comment. And there's a lot to draw out from that. And do wave if there's lots of questions coming in. But that's part of the nature of spiritual life. I don't know how many of you feel that you're embarked on a spiritual path, spiritual life, as it were, but you're certainly doing something of that in doing this practice. And on the one hand, there's this, and on the other hand, there's or however our negativity manifests, and we have to try and hold both. We can get rid of the Buddha because it's too uncomfortable bringing him to mind when we feel so far away from him, but that way we're not going to develop very far. Or we can try and pretend that we're not experiencing the stuff that we're experiencing, but that way we're also not going to get very far. We actually need to be with that rather painful, what can be rather painful tension, the contrast between the ideal and what's happening now, as it were. But the other thing, of course, as I was hoping to communicate in the meditation, is if we can be just a little bit in touch with a bigger, even just a bigger perspective in quite an ordinary sense, we can hold that irritation, those unhelpful thoughts, whatever, we can be bigger than them. It's so easy to think in terms of good and bad, but actually it can be much more helpful to think in terms of being bigger than what's not so helpful and have a kindly attitude to it that doesn't let it off being unhelpful, as it were, but kind of doesn't condemn it, doesn't condemn us for it, but a better way of putting it, perhaps. Yeah. Yeah, do stick any further comments, questions, whatever, in the chat. We've got a little bit of time. Maybe one question for you is if, for example, I hold up again the Buddha, could be a different image that you had in mind, whether a figure or a different type of form. What sort of qualities particularly speak to you? What sort of qualities of consciousness, of mind, as it were, are communicated via these ideal forms, or for you. I should put one of my friends on the spot. Dominata, what comes to your...
Yeah, big thing for me, I think, is in a way it relates to the interchange you just had with Liz. There's something about acceptance, something really useful for me, I think, around a much just an utter acceptance. Of who I am. I can take on board a little bit of that and come to terms with my own imperfections.
Well said. And perhaps I could have made the connection with what I was talking about a couple of weeks ago. Accepting the reality of our experience as it is, which includes whatever irritation, anxiety, whatever might be going on. That's what's happening, and it all comes from a vulnerable place. It doesn't really see the nature of things. Actually, there isn't anything to be afraid of, I believe, ultimately. Being bigger. Acceptance is definitely a very potent quality to bring in. Not acceptance in the sense, I'm repeating myself from a couple of weeks ago, not acceptance in the sense of, oh, this is who I am and I'm stuck with it. No, but this is what's happening now. And in a sense, that's okay.
Got loads of comments coming in.
Okay, great.
So Selena says, thank you for tonight. I have difficulties picturing a loving source because right now I feel so far away from it. What came to mind tonight was Mother Nature as a loving force. Is that okay?
Oh yeah. Well, anything that helps you connect with that sort of sense. And well, I showed you Tara earlier, and she has those sorts of resonances amongst others.
Miriam says that I felt that the love was more intense and real, and that my relationship with the difficult person was quite tricky, perhaps making me feel that I may not be engaging quite so much in the love mode. And the sentence breaks off, but that's basically what she's saying.
So actually a bit more conscious of what's really going on, as it were. Interesting.
Okay, she's finished the end of the sentence a bit later. I may not be engaging quite so much in love mode in my Metta Bhavana without the visualization.
Okay.
And Lizzie says, I love the soft edges to the Buddha here. Something to aspire to, being more fluid and open, less separate from others.
Yes.
Fiona says, Buddha is almost like a prism, not prison, prism, open to receive from all directions, transforming into another form of light.
Gosh, lovely image, Fiona. Thank you.
And Anna says, equanimity, calmness, and composure.
Yes, wonderful qualities, and they can sound so ordinary, don't they? But can't they? But those are qualities that go deep, actually. Yeah. Yes, and that this kind of mind that is less separated. It's something that we can aspire to, absolutely. And it's something that we can touch in on, maybe through a meditation like this one. It may or may not work for everybody, or in other ways, like I said, an experience of nature. And something we probably do just very slightly in incredibly ordinary ways that we don't even notice. And even just on this example I sometimes use, walking down the street and somebody drops something and you just sort of pick it up. You don't think about it. You're not particularly self-conscious in doing it. It's just, this needs some help. And that is just, in a very, very tiny way, a kind of going beyond the separation, because it's not in our interest to make that little bit of effort. And it might be in sometimes, but that's not usually the reason we do such a thing. Well, it's time to draw this evening to a close. Thank you all, firstly, very much for coming. Now, I said tonight has been the end of a series, but next week we're starting a new series, which we're calling Living with Awareness. Yeah. So that'll be another 8-week series on Meditation Night, which I shall be leading along with Priya Darka, who some of you may not know. And Living with Awareness, this new series, is also, like the current series, the one that's just ending, this new series is also running alongside a course. So we have a course, Life with Full Attention. Again, this is a Saturday mornings course with these Thursday evenings as an important extra. A Life with Full Attention, which is a practical course in mindfulness, in Buddhist mindfulness. So really going into different dimensions of ourselves, and then also different aspects of the world more. And indeed, invite your friends too, if you like what we're offering. Do share what you're appreciating with your friends. It might spark off further interest. And of course, last but by no means least, help us continue to do what we're doing and make a donation, especially if you can, a regular donation. I think some of you are already giving, and we really appreciate that. But in any case, thank you very much for coming. This is something we do together and we couldn't do it without you. So thank you, and good night from us at the Buddhist Centre.